We back, people, once again. Real tech talk, more sponsors, more people, bigger companies, bigger peoples. The revolution is here today. You need to listen to what this guy has to say. The experience in multifamily is changing. The trend is changing. Are you branded? Buildings you don't even know anymore. The type of service that's going to be provided, it's gone. It's a wrap. Who's attacking that? He's attacking it. I brought in my boy Chen Avni of Venn City. Pay attention. That's why we're here, bro. This is real tech talk. Boom shakalaka. So who the hell are you, bro? You know, what are you into? What do you do? Dude, you can keep it real here. Tell me about these real estate players.
Eric Brody is the managing principal of CEMVC LLC. All opinions expressed by Eric and podcast guests are solely their own opinions and do not reflect the opinion of CEMVC LLC. This podcast is for informational purposes only and should not be relied upon as a basis for investment decisions. Clients of CEMVC LLC may maintain positions in the securities discussed in this podcast.
Welcome back, people. It's Real Tech Talk, the next episode. And today, one of my favorite humans in this space has decided to grace me with his presence. And by the way, he's also changing the game in multifamily. You know, you're out there trying to compete, trying to make your assets look different. You're trying to increase ROI, trying to prove that tech can actually do that. And this guy right here is getting straight to the point. My man, Chen Avni, thank you for coming. Venn City, welcome to the building.
Thank you, Eric. Thank you for having me.
You're very welcome. So what I find most fascinating, guys, that you don't know is that I know him. He is not only a dear friend of mine, but he's also got one of the biggest multifamily platforms that we have in the city. So, Chen, tell us a little bit about how you even got into technology and a little bit about the background. And by the way, just so you know, the salmon branded Venn hat, I think is just incredible. We tell people all the time, why aren't you branding when you come? You got the memo. So I appreciate that.
By coincidence, I have the Venn book as well.
Oh, look. This is the Venn book.
Actually,
great. Good work. Good job, dude.
It's a good story. So first, I grew up in Israel in a kibbutz, although my British...
By the way, no one knows what that means. So what's a kibbutz? Tell me.
So a kibbutz is a very small community type of living. It's a unique type of settlement in Israel. The roots are back then when they just started the country. But the main idea is that this place is all about community. People living together, spending their time together, raising the children together. And although you're not owning anything because the properties... the amenities, everything is owned by the kibbutz. You own everything at the same time.
And they produce a commodity, some of them, right?
Yeah.
Like farming or milk or butter or something, right?
So you have your own home, but then you have unlimited access to, from kindergarten to groceries and so on and so forth. And part of your commitment is to work for the kibbutz. Okay. So it's a classic circular economy without the cool branding and technology around it. But I didn't plan to build a tech company. Yeah. It happened almost by coincidence when Or, my co-founder, and myself moved to the...
Wait, way too fast.
All right.
Way too fast. As we know, in Israel, you are required to do some service. Now, I'm going to embarrass you right now, but you got to tell us what your role was, because to me, that was fascinating. And we are talking here about technology, people, but if you ever see this man on the street, you got to talk to him about this too. What was your job?
So my job was teet, and I served in like teet, and I've been in teet, teet, teet.
You know what? I got a better story. I'll tell the story. Me and this man one time were at a conference. Some random dude comes up to me. They point at each other. They're like, how do I know you? Do I know you from the kibbutz? Did I know you from there? Like, let's talk. Beep. We knew each other from beep and beep. And I was like, wow, a true real life warrior here. So you're right. We don't need to talk about it, but I know it's to be fascinating.
But it's totally fine. It's part of the story because, like in Israel, every man and women need to do service for the country. Men are obligated to do 3 years, and you can stay longer. I served in the special forces in Israel, and I served almost 6 years.
Make sure you're talking to Mike. By the way, can I call you like Jocko Willink of Israel? Can we be like, you're the Jocko Willink?
Of course, it sounds amazing.
You don't even know what it is?
Yeah, but sounds cool. G.I. Joe.
Yes.
So I served 6 years in the army. Putting aside a super interesting and empowering and amazing experience, it's a community. At the end of the day, you get to know very good 12 friends that becoming your brothers down the road. And part of the things that we dealt a lot as a team is how we want to live our life after the army.
So you had kibbutz community, military community, and then what? So then
I traveled around the world from Central America to South America and going all over the place. Me and Or, my co-founders, found ourselves very intrigued with the new trend of co-something. And almost by coincidence, after we are traveling in Panama and spending time with two of our friends from the army, we built a real estate fund in Panama. We've been very...
Really? You were in Panama. You're nowhere near where you're from. And you just said, how did you raise that capital then?
So we've been back and forth between Israel and Panama. It was an activity led by Or. We call it the Or Fund. Or is light as well. But the idea was to connect to those guys that had an amazing real estate company back then, but to try to do things slightly different.
Okay, so just so I understand, so you knew you were traveling, you saw an opportunity, but this is all real estate based. Nothing. Yeah. This is, you have an influence of community and real estate. Now tie that into like why that's so relevant today. But you then found a piece of property there, and what was the idea?
The idea was just at this point of time just to bring money and buy assets in Panama City, in Casco Viejo. But the interesting fact around it was the first time when we discovered or we've been exposed to the impact of experience and brand on assets. And this is where we started to investigate more. This is where we started to discover more.
But where did you even see experience and brand? How did that even come to your mind? Because I completely agree with you. The fact of the matter is, and I say it all the time, that if technology can assist in creating brand, right, that means that you are searching for a specific developer. That's huge. But how did you even think that?
In Panama, and it's like it's a tiny story from the entire Venn journey. It was not Venn back then, but we've been active in a neighborhood called Casco Viejo, which is kind of Williamsburg, probably 30 years ago, and you started to see this urban development effects, like what happens when you open a coffee shop in a block that it was empty before. What happened when you bring like a cool rooftop or a yoga studio.
You know, not for nothing and not to cut you off, how fascinating is it to me that most of the time when we invest into companies, you're investing in the founder, right? Like you just are. You're like, yo, are they going to be able to get something done? And I feel like we're jumping over the fact that you went, I don't know how many thousands of miles away Panama is from Israel, and then started a company and developed an asset. It's like... there was nothing, you had no barrier, right? Like, and you hear it all the time from a lot of founders where they have issues. It's like, how about I give you this issue? You're going to go around the world to develop something. I don't even know if you spoke Spanish. Did you speak Spanish?
Entonces hablo español porque mi mamá es colombiana.
All right. So you got lucky, all right?
I have all the cards. But again, like we connected with those guys. We started to develop this fund. But the interesting outcome was an amazing company called Selena, that is a public company, went public last summer, that built an entire network of hostels. Super innovative.
You flipped to them, these assets? Like you developed, or you started Selena? Or you sold to them?
We've been part of the founding teams of Selena. Selena owned by Daniel Rudasevsky and Rafi Museri, which are an amazing friends. But it led us to Venn, because we saw what can happen when a neglected neighborhood starting to be injected with amazing content and experience and community above all. How can you take those principles and translate it into an amazing hostel chain? You're buying a property in Guatemala that's worth $1 million. 12 months after, with an amazing occupancy, with great parties, and with people that wearing the shirts of the brand of this space, suddenly, quote unquote, the asset worth $5 million. And that's what led us to think...
Which is an NOI increase though, right?
Yeah.
You changed the operating income. It was kind of run down. You branded it and created this experience.
Exactly.
And as a result of that, they were able to increase revenue and obviously word of mouth and social media and the rest of it. Okay,
exactly.
Amazing.
And it led us to think about two things that really bothers us back then. One, how can you live in the city but surrounded with people? And two, how can you build or take exactly the same principles and build it in the multifamily industry? Because...
Wait, the principle, though, is that we're lonely. We're around all these people.
Exactly.
But you don't communicate with them.
So I have the privilege to have the picture of how does it mean or what's the experience living in a kibbutz, which is the most extreme, in a good way, community that you're literally knocking on the door of your neighbor to take a cup of milk or whatever. And you stay there and eat dinner and spend time with the family that live there. Moving to the city, only 20 minutes driving in a car from the kibbutz to the center of Tel Aviv, but you feel complete lonely. Your value for money for the entire experience, it's not so amazing. You live like in New York in a tiny room with like the roof is like pouring water and you're paying like crazy amount of dollars. The landlord doesn't pick up your phone. You don't know any one of your neighbors.
And you feel lonely. And the reason I'm saying
lonely.
feel, that it's a feel, right? It's a like how this occupancy either adds or takes away from my life, right? And that's
Absolutely.
how we choose probably where to live, right?
Yeah, and that's exactly the point, because when you're in the prime of Tel Aviv, you feel lonely and disconnected. And you are starting to take the principles that you learned from your traveling around the world, and you see a neighborhood that is pretty far from being in the prime location in terms of price point. But still you see people paying exactly the same rent as people paying in the prime location.
Right.
So, and you're starting to kind of reassemble the experience that they are living there. You see that they are much more connected to their surrounding, not necessarily people, but to businesses as well. I mean, the fact that I know my barista and he know that I drink a cold ice Americano with...
Makes you feel a little better, right? A little endorphin.
A little better. And then when I have already the network of my the small businesses, again, that I know familiar faces. And above all, I care a bit more. When I will see something wrong in the street or when I will have some initiative, even if small, I won't hesitate and I do it. And this is the...
I agree with you. And I think it's the future. We're coming off coronavirus.
Right.
We're all lonely as hell, right?
Right.
We got nothing to say. You know, we don't even know how to communicate with each other again. So you've identified this problem, right? And you did it successfully in Panama. So how did you then bring that to NYC? What was the business then? So what is the business?
All right. So from our experience in Panama, we landed in Tel Aviv. The idea was to completely change how people live in cities around the world, and we wrote a book. That's the book that I brought. We decided before starting this journey.
Wait. He brought a book. Where can we get this book? Is this at Barnes & Nobles?
Yeah, exactly. I'm not sure what does it mean, but no. So,
Amazon? Can we get it on Amazon?
Amazon. So the idea was, let's put on a paper, before starting to raise money, before meeting all the challenges that life will bring, and they will bring, and they will come, let's write our vision. How cities in 2030 going to look like, and this is this book. And months after, we decided that if we want to bring this change, if we want to create an entire product around city living or neighborhood living, we need to own the real estate. That was the approach at the beginning.
So it's really like a real estate fund.
Real estate fund, real estate company, A to Z. So we went and raised money from the top family offices in Israel, and we bought almost 2,000 apartments in the South District of Tel Aviv. And on top of that, we started to build the experience. And the experience was different businesses, different amenities, communities, and so on and so forth.
So just to pause, because it's buck wild, okay? Because normal real estate is you do a 5-unit, then a 10-unit, then a 20-unit. I feel like it's a testament to you and your partner that you were able to get capital behind and acquire 2,000 units. I just feel like people need to understand that. You didn't go from 0 to 1 to 2 to 4 to 8. You fucking jumped.
So we bought at the beginning like a small group of we bought at the beginning a small group of buildings. Back then, it's try to imagine Shapira in Tel Aviv. This is where we started. It looks like a small townhouse neighborhood, almost like Williamsburg before developing. And the interest for big developers was very low to start and to go building by building and start to take 2 units there and 4 units there. And we don't afraid so much from hard work. So we took methodologies from the army. We mapped the entire neighborhood and we created a pipeline with LOIs. The idea was to bring the investor when we have enough units that it's going to be an interesting enough deal, because A, no one did it before. No one collected all those units. And B, we understand that a smart investor won't give us money for 2, 3, 4 units. So we kind of went big, and it was a very good, we kind of bet on that.
But so I understand it. You acquired the real estate. You created community by curating the retail, right?
Yeah.
And that was the original thesis, correct? So where did the tech come in? Because, by the way, just FYI, great idea. Not necessarily have anything to do with technology, but fantastic, right? Find that new neighborhood, curate that neighborhood, which is interesting, taking on the risk of the retail. But you said, because of my past experience in the kibbutz, that's going to drive that we know we're going to create a better feeling. And I bet you that increased it ROI, NOI. So then how did you then layer in the technology, or what that became Venn today?
Great question. So we had technology in our mind from day one. We, again, from the service in the army, and Israel is a startup nation, technology is around us, not only as consumers, but as people that lives in Tel Aviv. We saw something extremely interesting 1.5 years into the real estate business. We saw that the residents living Venn behave differently from the resident live across the street. That you cannot explain the neighborhood as the factor that create this change. You're kind of cleaning a lot of noises in terms of statistics. And we saw that those neighbors, those residents, stay longer, pay higher rent, willing to consume services from us, putting aside technology, cleaning, handyman, moving, and so on and so forth. And they're much more satisfied and bringing their friends. So in a way, we kind of tick all the boxes of the dream of every developer. We have more, the occupancy is high because we have more
demand. It's a higher NOI. You're making more money based on what you were doing.
But then when we said, okay, it took us 2.5 years to get to this point, it's not scalable. And we didn't came in order to build a real estate company, although it's an amazing business. We came to change the world. And if we want to change the world, if we want to be in 10,000 neighborhoods in 10 years, real estate, it's the cycles are too slow.
Yeah.
So we need to think differently.
And it's a different business. It's like a macro business. It's not necessarily an operating business.
Exactly.
Except management is, and people are going to beat me up about that. Management is, but I'm saying it's not a tech business. It's asset heavy.
Exactly. But then when doubling down on understanding how multifamily works outside of Israel, how the market in the US works, we saw an amazing opportunity to connect or to provide our concept to developers, owners, and operators that already have the real estate, already have the management in place, already have this entire or part of the neighborhood that they can operate or inject the content and technology they want. And we just, quote unquote, had to take the entire principles and the experience we created and translate it into a tech product. And then we saw an amazing opportunity.
Which basically is creating binary information about how your community uses your building and the surrounding area?
Yes, but much more than that, because the biggest thing, the biggest thing that I believe is currently missing in the multifamily, let's call it, not the entire real estate, when speaking about data, it's behavioral data. Because you have, you can see benchmarks and so on and so forth. You are asking surveys and so on, but no one really have the data that doesn't only ask Eric and Chen what they think about the apartment that they live, but the data that will reflect what they are doing there. What's the interaction between them? What's the interaction with the building? What's the interaction with the amenities? And in order to get this data or to mine this data, we need to create a platform where the resident going to use or participate. So I can put monitors in a building trying to understand who's opened the door in the gym and who closed it. But it will be much more interesting to understand inside the gym what people did, how they appreciate or not the Pilates class, and so on and so forth. That's why, and looking at what we've achieved so far back then, we want to be first the platform for the resident, taking the entire end-to-end journey from the moment they're looking for an apartment until the moment they hopefully renew their contract, connecting all this journey into one seamless experience. Exactly the same way that you're booking an apartment in Airbnb and they go with you until the end of your stay.
Right, but you're coming at it from a holistic experience of that person, right?
Exactly.
Caring about and then implementing the technology that's picking up what I call business intelligence, and you're saying behavioral, which is, I completely agree. And it always seems that technology's biggest problem is they're like, we will get you this information. We are not interpreting that information for you, translating it so that you can create actionable items.
Exactly.
And you're saying that that's basically what you're doing. But in addition, the layer, because you came from the real estate space and your background, is basically saying, we want that consumer to, the most important for us because we believe that impacts ROI, NOI, their stay, and the rest of it is as long as they're happy or successful within that time that they were with you.
Exactly.
So where do you stand today?
So this is what we're doing today. This is our product today. Today, our platform divided into 3 pieces. One is this end-to-end journey for the resident. Again, as I said, they are downloading the app from the moment that they are joining the community until the end of their stay. For the owner, we call it a neighborhood operating system because the platform for the owner and the ops team integrate seamlessly into their PMS. Means that for them,
what's the acronym? PMS?
Property management software. It means that for them...
Oh, integrating. You're not trying to replace them. This is an add-on. This is a plug-in to making it better.
Exactly. Where the data and all the accounting system and so on, ledgers and crazy stuff.
Right, you're not trying to be all things to all people.
Exactly. But we are just wrapping it up with not only a new interface that suits to the needs of people that managing properties today, but in addition, it gives them the ability to build the brand and the experience. I mean, our dream or our goal is to be in a place that we're not only building communities and boosting the experience in order to increase the NOI, but we are building tools, methodologies for the property managers to do it by themselves. There is a
So you're gonna white label it?
White label it not only in
powered by?
Exactly, powered by, because putting aside, we can dive into it, but putting aside the logo that you're going to put on the app, this is an easy thing to do. The playbook of how to manage the experience, this is the art stuff.
Also, real estate has a giant ego, right? So, you don't want to go up against that.
So there is a very interesting company right now of a dear friend that just started that's gonna do the entire centralize the entire components of the experience. I mean, they're buying real estate, managing real estate, building their own property management software, and at the end of the day, building their own brand. They aim to be the, if you may, the Marriott of multifamily.
Yeah.
We say something different. We say, looking at the hospitality again as a comparison, there are many brands out there. There are like small businesses
of course,
and small, hotels and so on. We want to be the platform that give Joe the ability to build his own brand and to customize the experience according to the need of the business.
Which I completely agree with you. I think that the future of multifamily is somehow you have to create an experience that's branded. In order to do that, you need the information that your consumer is looking for. In order to do that, you would need to be able to get that data, collect it, and then act on it.
Exactly.
So where does Venn economically, or what round are you guys in and are you today?
So we raised 2 rounds, round A, round B. Our total raise so far is $100 million, putting aside the real estate that was our first company. We are active in New York, Chicago, Kansas City, LA, Detroit, Philly, and more to come. We have more than 20,000 units active and triple in the pipeline. Economically, we are a startup, so we are growing. Every location is profitable. This is how we build the company, looking at the times that we are facing right now. And we have a long way to go.
Wow, that's absolutely impressive and incredible. So now, tell us, because I have you here and I've got this smart guy, lots of real world experience. So where is it heading, do you think? Not in the tech game, in the real estate game. If New York's multifamily rents went up because there's less buyers, how do you think then, like, what do you think are the next trends that are coming in the next like year or 2 years in the multifamily game?
Amazing question. So I think first, now with the booming of AI, I think we're going to see a lot of automation. We won't see yet AI penetrating too strong into this industry, but we're going to see, and we already started to see automation and consolidation, which I think this is probably the biggest trend in all the not only in the multifamily, but the entire real estate industry, because in a very strange way that I'm still too young to understand why, there is a lot of point solutions without platform or aggregation, which totally makes sense. And by the way, this is our vision. But we already see, because of the economics, because of many different reasons, we're starting to see companies merging, starting to see big players starting to consolidate different companies. So I think
otherwise you have a million apps, right? So
exactly.
You got to have just one to rule them all.
Just one to rule them all. And I think, and we already see it, probably one of the biggest blind spots in this industry is the fact that I'm, as a developer or an owner, look at my competition on the building next door. And I will look, they build an amenity, I'm going to build an amenity as well. They have like a package room, I was going to do it as well.
Makes sense.
The way I look at it, or we look at it, the real competition is between you as a developer and owner, not with the building next door, but with Uber, with Lyft, with Kayak, with Peloton, with all the experience-led companies that completely changed the expectation of resident. And now resident doesn't look only on the 4 walls, but they look on the entire experience around it. And I think it's a play of like maybe more than just 2 years, because it's very hard, and this is our biggest mission, it's very hard to prove increase in NOI. Connecting to experience, but we and other amazing friends that are doing it right now, you can completely see that good experience, high level of satisfaction can translate into a dollar sign.
I got to tell you, you're one of the first people, I think, who hit the nail on the head. Whoever the audience is, I hope you just heard what he said, because that is the future. It is, how do you create an experience, yet you don't know that it's going to drive NOI, even though you and I know inherently and innately within us, it is going to drive NOI, but we can't explain it just yet economically. Those that embrace that and are willing to take that risk, I agree, those multifamily buildings will be much more successful than others. And by the time everyone else seems to figure it out, you'll be long gone. So listen, Chen, I appreciate you so much for coming through. I think that people need to replay and play this again and again, because you hit the nail on the head on the way the future is going. And also, as you know, we're starting a second AI fund. So I agree with you. Any type of reduction of cognitive labor, come through, talk to us. So Chen, I appreciate you, brother.
Thank you, Eric.
All right, bro. Woo! I hope you guys paid attention to what just happened. He dropped diamonds. I've been talking about it for a while. He said AI. He said experience. You're coming off coronavirus. You're lonely. How are you going to deal with people? He's creating that experience, but he's monetizing that experience. 60,000 units, 5 cities. I mean, he's going to take over the universe in America if you don't pay attention to what he is doing. That company is on fire. They're NYC based. I'm a big fan. And you know what? Unfortunately, too big for my dollars, but definitely we got to take a look at what they're doing. I'm definitely going to check out a building powered by. So listen, it was a pleasure. You guys are liking and subscribing now, which is great. And I need you to continue to do that. But what you're not doing, and I keep saying it, is saying what's up to the big man in the street. By the way, I'm not that big, but you can still say what's up.